Shemai. Today I'm joined by a friend and a bit of an all-round legend. We're out in the woods again and I need to learn a few more skills, and I'm joined by Mr. Craig Armiger from Outdoor Coaching. Now, Craig works a lot with us in schools all around, not just in South Wales but all around the place really, and he's a bit of an expert at lots of things, but I'm severely lacking in the putting up shelter department. So Craig's joined me today and he's going to talk us through how we put up a tarpaulin shelter.
Okay, so we've come into the woodland here and we've looked for an area to put up our shelter, and this area here is quite clear, so there's nothing on the floor to get in the way. So that's the idea, that we can actually sit on the floor or get underneath the shelter. And then we're looking for two trees opposite, one here to put the cord between so that the shelter can then go over the top. The shelter that I'm using today is a DD hammock, and it's a 5 metre by 5 metre shelter. It's quite a large shelter. I use this one a lot in schools because I can get a whole class of 30 underneath it when it's up and running. So the way in which we fasten the two ends to put up the tarpaulin, we're going to use a round turn and 2 half hitches. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It goes round the tree and then we do our 2 half hitches. 1, 2, and it's as simple as that. That is enough to keep that in position. We'll take the other end then to the other side. This we could wrap just round the tree, but we really need to have this rope as tight as possible. So we're going to do a little system in here, and we're going to take a loop of rope through to create a loop on this side. Then the rope is going to go round the tree, and then it will come back to our loop here, go through the loop, and then it's going to go back to the tree. What it's doing now is it's creating a 2-to-1 pulley system, and we can go pull it tight, pull it tight, pull it tight, and then we're going to go to the round turn and 2 half hitches again. Goes round the tree, comes onto there and pull, and then what I do then is, instead of pulling the rope all the way through, I take this loop and pass that loop through as the last half hitch. That makes it really, really tight, so we can put the tarpaulin over. When we want to release it, we've got the loop here and we've got the end of the rope. All I'm going to do then is, that's quite easy then, to pull our rope through, pull our rope away and undo it without having the difficulty of having the knot so tight that we haven't got anything to work with. And the knot that we've used for our pulley, again, is quite easy to undo because it is very, very loose because it's on the bite. That goes through and we're back to undoing all our system. So attaching the tarpaulin to the line that we've set up in the trees, this tarp has got these sewn in loops here that you can use to attach rather than bringing the tarpaulin over the top, which can be quite a bind, particularly in a day like today when it's quite windy. It flaps too much, whereas this is just a simple clip. It clips onto the line at the top. This is just a simple DIY clip, clip through, clips over, job done. We move down to this end. We've got another clip, and that is attached into that loop that's around the tree. So the knot here is stopping the clip and the tarpaulin moving in that direction. What we have to do now is to get the other end of the tarpaulin secured and tight. And we've got another clip here. This is one of my old climbing carabiners, and this is just a small piece of cord, about 20 centimeters long, and we put the clip onto there, and then we simply wind the small piece of string cord round, and then we get that loop and we clip that bit into there. And then what it does is that when we slide that along to get it really nice and tight, that cord wraps itself round and stops it from moving back that way. Very, very simple, very, very easy. And now we've got a tight tarpaulin all the way across. Okay, so now we've put the tarpaulin up, just to explain a few of the components of it. First of all, it's pegged out at the angles, and if we walk over to the corner here, we can see that there's quite a helpful hint as to what angle it should go out to, which will then take this tarpaulin out nice and taut. At the end, it's going to be pegged out with just a normal tent peg. There are two here, two different types. One has got a slightly curved top to it, the other one's got a fairly flat angle. So when they go in, they shouldn't go in at a vertical level, because whatever's hooked underneath could then unhook itself by accident with somebody walking past or just in the wind. So it should be angled at about 45 degrees, and therefore whatever's underneath there is hooked on nice and tightly. It isn't gonna, if it's vertical, slip off quite easily. So at the moment, we've got the tarpaulin in what I would say is probably the wrong position for the wind today, but it suits our filming because it's in a nice open space. At the moment, what we've created is not a shelter, it's more of a wind tunnel than a shelter. The wind's coming from that direction, so the shelter should shelter us from the winds on that angle. So it should go around 90 degrees, and that would be a perfect shelter for today. So on this side of the shelter, we've got a different setup. It hasn't gone to a tent peg. What we've got here is quite fortuitously a nice tree, thick enough to take the strength of the tarpaulin, and it's just attached with a loop of rope which is looped round the tree in a lark's foot here, and this is just a bobble of elastic. It's looped forwards, it's just attached that way. You just pull it through, put it over the bobble like a hair bobble. That also gives it a little bit of spring there, so it's not under tension so much. Very simple knot, loop of rope, threaded round the tree, little piece of elastic bobbling instead of the guy line, and that gives you something else to attach your tarpaulin and shelter to. Okay, so on the other end of the tarpaulin, now at this side, we've got it at a different level, and again, I've just used this tree here. It's a round turn and 2 half hitches with a guy line, so we're not using any tent pegs. It goes out, gives us a different level here. So this corner is higher than the far corner there. What that does, that if you get rain, it doesn't all come off all of this side. It goes from this end downhill down to the far corner. So all the rain runs down to that far corner. So this area here, the people here haven't got to live with drips coming off the edge of the tarpaulin all the time. It's just in that far corner. So to get an uneven side is okay. It doesn't need absolutely perfect 45 degrees, perfect alignment, perfect each side being the same. Get them uneven, that way the rain will come off at different sides. And so that's us packed away, but realising that we're actually in a forest here and we need 2 trees to do this setup. So I think for our school-based tarmac teaching friends, I think we're going to need another video to explain how we're going to set up in the school grounds. So I'm going to leave the woods now, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get a nice warm cup of tea, and maybe I'll take that biscuit this time.